So I guess we can kind of get ready to get started. I will go over a little bit of Substance Painter today to do some of the materials for the flag project. Also, before that, I guess, I'm still missing people's assignments of, let me know what your project idea is for the final project. Uh, so if you can do that during class, that'd be great. Just a simple comment about what you want to do, as well as the assignment one. I was missing that, so that would be good to get it to me as quick as possible. Hopefully, in this class, by the end of class, you'll be able to have that in. Whatever stage your assignment one is in, that's quite fine. Just kind of submit it as is. Um, so that's something hopefully it can be done today in class. When I go over break, I can talk to you all. I have to make sure what's going on. If you need help or something like that, be sure to go over that. Aside from that, if you don't have access to Substance Painter, it's okay, but this is the method to go. You can go to substance3d.adobe.com/education. I do believe I have that already up here in the course materials, I believe. Yes. So that's Autodesk. I thought I had that. Maybe it's an announcements. Well, I think it was at the very first announcement I had. Okay, so that should be the same link here. So you should probably use a student ID and be able to log in and submit and verify an app. I think you should be able to get 1 year if you've not already got an Adobe subscription before. If you did, there may be some issues. You might have to use the computers here. That's the only thing. So maybe to think about it, maybe you can think about planning ahead by trying to do as much modeling as you can on your own personal devices, and then when you come here, you can really focus on the materials and that kind of creation. Cool. So from there, think if there's anything else. Again, assignment 2. That's I did move it forward a little bit to the 26th because the last one it was a little bit too long, I think. So I think with the push into the 26th should be a little bit better because what we're doing, it's not that overly complicated. Next week is a lab day for this, so I'll be able to have like hands-on to try to make sure that you can understand this. And again, this is both in Maya or in Blender, so you have that option now to choose which software you feel the most comfortable with. Aside from that, today we will be working with Maya, so you can see how the cloth animations work inside of Maya. Then, of course, we're going to export that and take it to Substance Painter and actually do some basic materials, because I do have it so that Substance Painter file if you used it to texture it, and I'll go through that today as well. Aside from that, discussion board, once you completed your assignment, do the discussion board, assignment 1, post-mortem. Quiz 1 and quiz 2, I do believe they're still available, so definitely check those out. Actually, it's due today. So yeah, quiz 2 is due today if you haven't done so already. Very easy to do. I think it's very simple. It's only 5 questions. You could even do it during a break if you want to. If you feel like you have an issue, just let me know about it and I'll be able to help you out with that. Aside from that, I want to leave that. I was gathering some banner inspirations because for the assignment 2 we had the prompt of storytelling flag, or you can do like a lantern swinging on a post, which that's kind of simple. You can just do like a simple you can do like a key rotation and get that to move, but I think the flag is pretty good to try. So, but again, it doesn't have to be fantasy. It can be realistic if you want to. Something that has tatters on it. I will be trying to work with that in Substance Painter to show you how that's done, and of course take it back to Maya as well. But you can also, think outside the box and even do something more along the lines of sci-fi if you like, science fiction or something like that. Because even in Star Wars, this was reference used from the Old Republic MMO. So that's something you can also think about if you want, futuristic banners or flags or something like that. The flag is just basically the final animation, how it's going to be, or just some sort of cloth moving in the wind somehow. Whether using Maya's wind or using Blender's wind and field solvers, so that's to be done. So yeah, so with that, I'll go ahead and try to model out this assignment too, just to show you that it can be done. It's not an impossible thing. Substance Painter 3D, this is, if you have it on the computers, you can just start typing Substance and this will come up. This is a layout. If you've already taken 177, then you probably have some familiar idea about this. Though in 177 right now, we haven't covered it yet, but you can get a little bit of a preview for it and have a heads up. So basically, this is why we unwrap things and take them here. But for anyone else who's seen this or watching it in the future, this is Substance Painter. We have our assets. We have Substance 3D assets. That's like their assets browser. You can find things. I don't know if it can work with students' accounts. I've had some success and some I haven't had success. I've had to use my own personal account for it. So you may or may not be able to use that. But anyway, to do a new file, you just have File, New, and this is still the old version, but you'll just be able to select templates here if you need to use Unity or Unreal, depending on which way you're going. But PBR is usually what we'd be using. PBR here with the alpha blend, probably, because that's with the opacity if you have something like tatters. And document resolution, that's the either 10K, 2K, 4K. It does not go up to 8K, so that's an issue there, but deal with that. And the file, this is the actual FBX file. Once you export it, that has properly UVs unwrapped, this is what you'll be able to grab from here. So yeah, everything else can kind of be left default, and we'll go to Maya and actually model something. So I'll go to New, and here I will start to model something. I'm looking over here at my some references here to get something like a little bit of a stylized feature, something that's kind of unique or interesting, instead of just like a basic flag, which there's nothing wrong with something like this that you want to put on a single plane and have it flying. But with everything else, if you want to continue in this industry, you should really try to find something unique or creative and to really put yourself out there like that. So yeah, just try to find something a little bit different. But yeah, so we'll try to start with that. I know I talked a little bit last week about the cloths inside of Blender, but it's similar. You can similarly do the same thing here. So if I, let's say, have a cube here, I go to my freeze, do all that, my freeze transformations, and delete history. Then I add a plane on top of that, and we can just scale it up a lot. And if I should add some subdivisions to it, so I'll go here to my plane and find my subdivision height and width. So something like 20 by 20 is okay for now. And yeah, from here, center the pivot point, delete history, and freeze transformations. And from here, simple as going up to end cloth. Oh, I am in FX, so by default, you might be in modeling. I had FX last time I opened it, so that's the last thing that left on. So I'll go over here to my end cloth. Pretty simple. Create a passive collider here. And yeah, it'll create a new solver, and I can click apply. It'll create something like a nucleus one, and this will have all the information like some of the other things you've had before. In rigid nucleus, this is where you go and play with the gravity, wind, and field. So like the wind speed and wind direction, right now it's just the x-axis, so it'll just be going one this way. So that's something to think about. So this is that. If I press play now, okay, nothing's really happening there. So end cloth there. If I go to cube, end cloth Oh, that's right. Because I did something wrong. It wasn't passive collider. I need end cloth, create end cloth. There we go. That'd be better. So now we're going to create an end cloth and create a cloth. And now that should be better. Yeah. So because it's passing through it, it needs that passive collider like I just clicked on. So create a passive collider here. Pretty simple, basics. Play. And now we have this. So yeah, it's pretty simple for that. We can of course rename that as needed, but the nucleus, that's where it would show which direction it's going in. So let's just say wind speed is 20. We still want it to go X direction. Press play. So it's slowly going. So it is slowly flying away. Put the wind speed back to 0. Press play. So if you want to do something like the actually have this attached to something, this is where you'd go and try to find your vertex here, just like in Blender. Vertex selection, and here we can just find some vertices to select. And here we can do end cloth or end constraint. And I believe this is transform constraint. Yes, create the constraint here. And now if I press play, it would just be attached to that area. And it's good that if you have something else in your scene that's going to be colliding with it, to make sure that that has a passive collider on it as well. And this is crazy amount. I don't need that, so 300 might be better. And this is where you can actually really play with the settings here. So go back to your nucleus, and wind direction, we have it X going that way, but I think we want Z to really see it. So 1 0, put a 0 here, and wind speed. Let's do 50 right now. Okay, that's not right. So it's going X, Y. So sometimes if you're used to Blender, the X and Y's are a little bit changed, and you can check down here where it should be going. So if it's 1, it's actually going up. So kind of like how it should actually be in the coordinates plane, but Blender, they reverse it for some reason. So now if I do it this way, it should be a little bit better. Let's restart it and play. Yeah, now it's just trying to go the other way. So that's good. That's what's showing. From here, I can just go to my nucleus, and if you wanted to go, the negative direction, just put a simple minus on there, and we can restart it. In theory, that should have been it. One direction. Negative. There we go. So now it's going in that negative direction, and it's still being constrained there. So, if you want to try to do something, I was testing out the other day, open scene. Where did I put that? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. But if you want to do something where you had this kind of like squish between 2 objects or something, like you said, well, like one of the prompts said, where you can do almost the ruins of some sort, or if it's like after a battle, this is how you could apply that. Hey, how's it going? And so that's basically, roughly, that's just how you can kind of play with the cloths in Maya. There's also, of course, other ways to be able to change that. You can do end cloth shape. You can do pressure, try to find different properties here, similar to what you'd find in Blender. So maybe have the mass a little bit heavier, 20. That's definitely going to fall down more. That might be almost like a leather of some sort, or just like a heavier material. So 20 might be a little bit too much, but that's where you have to actually really play with and trying to find just the right setting that you kind of like. Maybe ideally, maybe more like 8. Let's see. Just so there's some weight to it if you want, but though once you play with that, then you might have to play with the way the wind speed is and how fast it's going. So maybe you need something like 125, just so it can still pick that up again. And of course, sometimes it can just act crazy and it tries to almost self-implode on itself. So that's always fun stuff you gotta be aware of. Create a passive collider. But there's also, kind of cool things you can still do with this. Let's just delete all those. Create our plane here. Because you don't have to do like a single basic plane shape. There can be other shapes you can try. You can do something with the torus here. Let's move that around. Scale. I guess that's fine. Or just do the below it. Yeah, something like that. Maybe actually going through that again. Of course, this is where we'd have to delete, freeze, all that stuff. Cool. And here we can go ahead and add ourselves some loop cuts or divisions if we want to, but we could just do loop cuts here. So where's that multi-edge? Insert edge loop tool. No, it's one of these two. If we go here, there you go. Number of edges. Let's say 60. Cool. Freeze everything, delete everything. Go to object mode. I'll create a end cloth. Create end cloth here. Okay, it did not like that. And now I think it's actually going to crash. It did. Okay, so it didn't. So I guess you got to be careful about how you work with Maya. I feel like in Blender that would not have happened. But you can use both softwares to see how you like it. I think a lot of you might be probably going with Blender. And I can see that. I can appreciate that, but it's good to know how to use that in Maya as well. So let's try that again. Maybe we won't have too many donuts this time. Shift, right click, go in here. Let's do 60, no, not that, 60. Click in here. And now before I do anything else, I'm going to try and just create end cloth. Okay. Let's do 600 down here and just click play. Okay, so now it is actually working. That's good. Cool. So from here, let's just get out of that. go back to object mode, and we can go ahead and click on the torus again and try to create what I was going to try to create. That is definitely way too thick. At least try this first. In cloth, create a passive collider. Collide. In cloth, create a passive collider. So that's working there. If I go back to encloth, where is that? Encloth shape, collisions. And this is where I probably want to have a little more stickiness and maybe more friction here. Let's see what. Okay, so that's kind of, yeah. It seems like it still wants to have some issues there. That's okay. I guess we'll change the friction to something small. Yeah, and the stickiness still wants to go out. 0.1, and maybe try the friction a little bit higher. Or I might just have to move this a little bit further. Yeah, that kind of worked. Move that on top a little bit. Okay, that's not working because we don't have a passive collider. So, encloth, passive collider. And so I guess all really showing you is that it can dynamically react to interesting complex shapes, similar to Blender as well. So everything can be done, and if we decide, yeah, that's good. Yeah, and we can pretty much go back to our concepts here and try to create something interesting. So I'm going to go to new scene and try to work with this. So I will go ahead and create a basic plane here, and I'll rotate that 90 degrees. 90 degrees here. I'm going to move that upward and kind of look at a banner here. Something like that. I can always add subdivisions later. Just save this because it's always good to have your saved scene. So an 8 and banner blowing. Cool. So here, let's create another object. Kind of create that. That's cool. Control S to save because I might crash. Bevel that. One more. Maybe move that. Holding down Control for a little more finer movement. And yeah, that's seemingly fine. Cool. So I'm going to go object mode. I think I'll take this as well. Control D to duplicate this. I'll rename this to flag. Rename this to top for now. And rotate this again. Z, Y. 90. Move this up a bit. Move it down like so. Cool. So I'm going to object mode face right here. Extrude with scale. And now I'm going to bridge this. Go to my modeling toolkit. Okay, it does not like that. Okay, so face, click on this, Control Delete. And now let's, okay, it does not like the bridge like that either. Okay, we'll just have to do one at a time. Bridge. Yeah, it just does not like that. That's okay. Bridge that. We can also go down here to bridge if you want to. You can press Shift and right click. If you hold down Shift and right click, that'll bring up this menu here. Okay, cool. So that's looking like that now. So I'll go ahead and create another object, or maybe I can just duplicate this one. Probably just duplicate that again. Move that out a bit. See which way that is. Z 90. Oh, I see it's acting like that, but that's, move that in. Grab the face down here. Now I'll probably delete this face because I know I'm already going to have the end gone here, so I do want to fix that up top as well. So vertex, let's see, got these. I could just create a pole here, so I think I will do that. To extrude inward, holding down Shift, and I'm just going to merge. And a simple bevel around this. Control B to bevel. Awesome. And I will also bevel these edges here, just outward. And I'm definitely going to have to fix this as well. Put that in the middle. And always try to work smarter. Control Delete. I guess I can go ahead and bevel, do the same thing to insets. Just as simple. Control B. Holding down Control for finer adjustments. Cool. And again, I want to mirror this. Awesome. So we have kind of an interesting shape. I'm kind of going off of this a little bit, seeing how that works. I don't know if I'll add the spikes or not. Again, this is really to show you a lot of things at once, so I don't want to get too much, but kind of get this base idea. Control B. Just something that's kind of interesting and unique. I could do something where it goes in like so. For that, I might need to make this a little bit larger. Maybe having that maybe in there like so. Of course, I want to rename this ring. And we could probably have some sort of base down here. Insert edge loop. I guess roughly there. Face. Going to extrude. I just shift, left click, double click, and I press shift again. I was about to do a really bad geometry thing, so that's fine here. The more I look at that, the more I don't know if I like that thick. Middle mouse button to click there. Nope. Vertex. Object mode. Now I do want the pivot point kind of like in a center here. Vertex mode. Shift, left click this, and click the pivot point. So now it's up there. A little bit easier to maneuver. And from here, delete history and freeze transformations. Because if you notice, this rotation actually changed to right here. So it's always a good habit to do the in Maya to freeze transformations as well as delete history for everything. Cool. And that's not the base, so that should be fine. If there's anything else I should add, maybe just do this again. Now, before that, I will go ahead and unwrap this, just so when I do duplicate it, it'll be a little bit easier to get that done. So, no, H, Alt H. Everything's just, sometimes you have muscle memory from Blender and hopping over and you press certain keys and it just doesn't work. Like I want to do Control A and that just opens and hides the attribute editor. I'm thinking, no, I just want to apply. And I think, oh no, I have to do something else. So sometimes your brain and your hands just do different things. But from there, let's go to Workspace and go to our UV editing. So I'll select these faces here. Holding down Tab to just select my, to get that circle selection up. And before that, I should go ahead and do the camera based. So I'll do that. So let's select everything, go to object mode, and just go ahead and create the camera. Cool. So now we're kind of like starting fresh. From here, I'm just going to go ahead to Alt H, and now finally work on these. Tab, select those, select those. Though if I do that, yeah, it's just gonna make the pie cut there. That's fine, I'll just do this then. I might want to do it just before it bevels, actually. So I'll cut that, and I'll cut right down here. UV shell, select this, go down to unfold, unfold. Looks pretty good so far. Though I don't know why it's so small. Optimize. We get a line. Go to layout. Orient shells and layout. Cool. So that's done. I'm going to go to everything else, H. Since this is a single plane, that's fine. I might save that for last because I do want to eventually animate this, but I need to have the same UVs for both of them and just have this set off to the side. But anyway, let's get the rain. This should be pretty simple. Just a simple cut down both sides. Maybe one on the side here. Something like that, and just go ahead and cut. Select all of our UV shells. Fold. Orient. And let's go ahead and lay out to see where we're at. Okay, this still needs to be cut here, so I'm gonna select those sides there. And let's cut UV shell, select everything, orient again, oh, unfold actually, unfold and orient and lay out. Yeah, some of those are not the best, but we will figure that out a little bit later. I might sew this actually. Let's just sew that again. Eventually I'll just unwrap everything as well. Top part, this is actually not the top pole. Again, pretty simple things. I will have to delete this actually because I don't need those. Control delete. We don't need to mark those. Those are already marked. I will do a simple bevel here. Bevel. That's good. And I will cut. For this one, I might go there. I don't know. I guess it all depends on where the UV seam is going to be at. So here, cut that. And I will cut this and go to the top. If I see the top is in fact intersecting that, I'm going to go to X-ray mode. Yeah, I probably don't need those. And tab. Cool. Control delete. Cool. So I'm going to unhide everything again, pressing H. Turn that off, solid view. Select everything here and optimize, unfold. And I can do orient shells. And finally, let's see it layout. And with Maya, you know, they have their own textile density checker that you can kind of see how it would appear. It's pretty good, actually. Move that. Faces. In the front view, I can do, I mean, we don't always have to do, you know, something like a camera-based. You could do something like planar, and that might be good for some instances. Though it can be a bit buggy. Let's see. In some cases, automatic might be fine for something like this. It's just a few faces. But if you had something more complex like this, automatic could give you a lot of cuts in certain areas that you probably don't want. But for now, I might just go with this. Let's go ahead and unfold, optimize. I don't need to straighten those. Yeah, it just doesn't like that, so that's fine. We can orient shells and layout. Select everything else and see what we have. I'll turn off the checker base. UV shell, so I want to see what happens if I lay out everything automatically. That's not too bad, actually. This part, I might be able to straighten it. Straighten UVs. And of course, this is just a mess right here. Let's see what's going on. Ah, missed one cut. Did I? I thought for sure I had a cut here, unless something else is happening weird. Let's sew it together, and maybe I need to cut somewhere else. So let's click that, cut. UV shell, unfold. I can probably orient. It does not like that. Let's see what's going on here. What happens if I go ahead and try to cut here? Let's see. Orient shells, unfold. Let's orient shells again. Could I straighten the UVs now? Yes, UVs are straightened now. So which is that UV edge? That's there. Move that off to the side, UV. Yeah, it just seems like it's been rotated. So if I go ahead and try to sew these two together, and I'll see if I can straighten this out. Okay, cool. So that was fixed. And I do think that's just way too big. You don't need that much resolution. Same for this. Probably you don't need as much resolution for this as much. Maybe move this around. This should be like the top part, F. Okay, that's a side part. Okay, I see. Yeah, we could just fit those inside of there. And now I see this thing. Okay, that's not good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's crazy. Yeah, I was pretty sure I cut that. Okay, let's see. Select the UV shell here. Alt H. Alt H. And let's see what's going on with this guy. Yeah, because there's definitely a cut there. Let's cylindrical. That's a little bit better. But that needs to come up more. So that does seem a little bit better. H to unhide those. Let's see, Shift H. Shift H to unhide those. Shift H. And cool. I think we're just about at a place so we can start to work on these a little bit more. Rotate this a bit. See, this is there. We don't need that. We could probably straighten these as well. Let's go ahead and straighten UVs. Move that off. Layout along X or Y. Y. Arrange. Line. Transform. Okay, so I guess we'll leave it like that. Maybe rotate these a bit more. Which one's this? This is inside of that one. What the heck. Take a transform. Let's go and unfold. Let's straighten the UVs out and just move it over here just a bit. Just for the sake of time, we can get this into substance. Cool. Let's see how it looks. I think everything is seemingly okay. Move this more towards the center. Cool. So from here, we need to make sure that we have our vector general for now. Make sure the Windows and we have our plugin manager and we have FBX. Yep, that's all loaded in. And also I will add substance here. Just so I can load these in a little bit easier, but let's see. Substance man. Okay, I guess that's the latest one. And close. Control S to save. I have everything selected here. Just to do it, I'll go ahead, right click and assign new material. For when you have things that are opacity, if you use, there's a couple different shaders inside of Maya. You can use the standard surface, but if you want to have like the ray tracing, you need to use something called Arnold. So that's the, it says AI, but that's definitely not AI. Let's see, AI, I should have seen that. Assign new material. Where is that? Yeah, that's so odd. That's not there. I don't think things have changed. Go to Windows. Let's see about what's going on. Render. Hypershade. So Hypershade is the menu that's kind of like Blender, where it's a shader editor. And this is Maya's version of that. And I'm pretty sure we should have AI standard. Yeah, it's just acting like it doesn't even exist. That's so weird. Okay, well, for the time being, I'll just have to do something like a standard material. So I guess we'll do that. Right click, assign new material. I guess I'll do a standard surface. Name this to m_banner. And I should probably delete everything here. So pilot modeling. Just add a good measure. I click, assign existing material, m_banner. So I do see that they all have m_banner up here. So that's good. Cool. So from here, let's finally export. File, export selection. And we want the FBX here, so we'll export the selection here and into our documents. So with that, new folder. There we go. Work. And let's just call this as banner_LP for low poly. Now, if we had something a little bit higher poly, we could include that as well. I do need to smooth in my smooth mesh. Edit mesh display. Should be something here for soften faces. Export. Yeah, I think mesh and smooth. No, I don't want to do that. Well, I guess I'll figure it out if it's in Substance or how it looks in Substance. Smooth, normal faces. Mesh display, soften edges. Mesh display, soften edges. That's what it was. Mesh display, soften edges. Okay, cool. So that gives us a little bit of softer appearance now. Now if we do harden, it might appear flatter when you try to texture this. So now that we soften that, I'll go ahead and export this. Export all. File, export selection. Yes. Cool. Now back in Substance. We go to File, New, as I've said before. For template, we can just leave it as default and we can add our opacity maps later on. Document resolution, I'll probably just leave it as, I could do 4K because you can always export as a smaller resolution. So I'll do 4K for now. File, 178, 5, work, and banner. Everything else we can leave unchecked. Now if we had UV UDIMs or anything like that, that's where we'd select the UV tile workflow and click OK. And our normals seem to be okay because nothing's inverted. This is where if you had like flipped normal or flipped faces, you'll see that the things are kind of like inverted, just like how this is one single side. So that's one way to know if you've had something weird going on. The one thing I do want to change up is this. Because if I'm going to bake these meshes as low poly, I don't want this to be affecting this. So I'll go ahead and re-export. Yes. And the cool thing about Substance Painter is you can always re-import your mesh. And now it's here. And we have my m_banner. If you had multiple objects and multiple materials, anything you name a material, whether in Blender or Maya, you'll have that name. So if you had banner and then maybe you had something for pull for whatever reason, 2 materials, it'll be all here. Now I'm going to texture set settings. If I go here, because the window's kind of squished, That's how it is. If I scroll down, I'll see something that says Bake Mesh Maps. And I can left click on this, and this will open up a new window to be able to bake my mesh maps. Some materials that you apply and work with inside of Substance Painter, it needs all this information. It needs this to be baked in order for it to work properly. If you want to have like certain curves or certain highlighted features of it, you need to have these mesh maps here. So normal, ID map if you have one, ambient occlusion, curvature, you need to have this information here. So everything is fine as it is. I will change this. High poly parameters, where it says to use low poly mesh as high poly. If I took this into something like ZBrush or Blender to sculpt any kind of high, million polygons features onto it, this is where I'd go and click on that file and find the underscore HP or your high poly that you exported. But right now, we're just going to use low poly mesh as a high poly mesh. So we still get all that information. Anti-aliasing, I can do 8x8 for now. And yeah, bake the selected textures. And it's only really taken a while because I had 8x8 and I'm also using a 4K. If you're doing something like 2K maps, it might be quicker. And even for the anti-aliasing, if you did a little bit lower, that might be better. Anti-aliasing, of course, is about how jaggedy edges could be. So the higher it is, the smoother it could be, but then it might be a little bit longer to bake it. But yeah, so far that's looking pretty okay. I can use my left mouse button. I can press on Alt, left mouse button, and that can orbit around things. I can use my middle mouse button with the Alt button to kind of like pan around. If you haven't used Substance Painter for a while, or if it's first time, it might be a little confusing to use, but the more you use it, the more familiar you'll be with it. It's kind of like Blender controls. So if you're familiar with that control scheme and how to navigate your 3D viewport, this should be a little bit easier to recognize. So as I see over here, I have some new mesh maps. I have normal space, ID, ambient occlusion, curvature, position, and thickness. I can go through the different channels here if I want to. F2, F3, that changes between my 3D and 2D, which is the UV map. And F1 goes back to my split view. But if I want to go and see what my normal maps are looking like, normals, world space normals, you can see what the ambient occlusion looks like and how it baked that information. Kind of a bit jagged. You can kind of see it baked a little bit of shadow there, which is fine. We can still work with that. So yeah, that's why I want to move this out of the way, because otherwise it might create that weird shadow there, and you don't want that because that shadow gets baked into it unless you take it out. So sometimes have them apart from each other could be good. But yeah, so I'm going to go to F1 and just keep this off on the side, and I can move this around so it's a little bit off to the side, and I'm focusing just on this. And go back to material. If you found yourself going somewhere else like this, and you need to go back, you can press M on the keyboard to go to material. Aside from that, I'm going to layers, and I'll just put on some sort of basic layer right now. Right now, this is just affecting everything, which is good. I'm going over here to fill, add a fill layer. Right now it's white, but if I go down to properties and scroll down, I can change the base color of this to something I want. So if I want to do something more of a golder color maybe, or something like that, maybe like this. One thing to really think about whenever you make materials or coloring for anything, you don't want to do anything super extreme, because that'll be just so bright and so blown out you don't have any kind of room for any colors. Trying to stay around here is quite fine, and also letting the lights help you out, as well as I think it's always a good idea to take a look at real world references. So if you want to do something like brass, you just don't go to the orange channel and blow it out. So, and if you want metallic brass, you just don't boost up the metallic crazy. So yeah, so here we can do something like that in that color. If you want to add a metal to it, that's where you have the metal down here. You scroll down, you'll see a metal channel here, and it will start to add that. You can hold down Shift and right mouse button, and you can drag that, and that will kind of like drag the HDRI that's invisible in the background to kind of shift the light and shadows around. So it kind of helps you to see that a little bit clearer. And you can always play around with that in the display settings here. So you can see the environment opacity. Though having something like this, it might be distracting to you, so maybe just keeping it down. That's good. I probably wouldn't recommend playing with the viewport environment exposure, because that could give you a false idea of how light plays. If you do it like this, you're thinking, oh, this is okay, I need to change it, but then you take it to a game engine or Blender or Maya and you try to render it thinking, whoa, what happened to all the colors? You're probably working with overblown out exposure. So that's something you gotta watch out for. And if you want something like the opacity, we need to add that. So if we go to texture set settings again, and I know because everything's all squished over here, we can add that channel here. If we go to scroll up to our channels, we click on a little plus icon, and we can find opacity. This is also where you add emissive. So if you want to add, lights or certain areas to certain parts of your model, or if you're working on a lamp or something, this is where you also add emissive. But for now, we just want opacity. So I'll click on that, and now I have a new box I can click on, and that will be opacity. So if I go here to layers and I click on opacity, I can change how this would appear. Right now it's not doing anything because with Substance Painter, it's just going to show you like the default shading settings. If you do want something like the opacity shown here, you'll have to change that. Also, geometry down here, you can click on this icon for shader settings and click on double-sided. So if you have like a plane here, this is how you add the other side as well. Though what you do on one side will copy on the other side. That's the only thing. But here we can change something like up here at ASM-metal and rough, we can find something like this one, PBR metal rough with alpha test. If we want something, alpha blending, that might be something more with lights or glass, where you want something that's not either 0 or 1, essentially, by saying there's nothing there or there's something there. For this, having this just alpha test might be fine. So we'll play with that for sure and see how it works. And so now if I go to opacity, it sees it's 0, 1. If I go back to my display settings and actually shader and click on the alpha, the alpha blending, let's go here and you'll see it starts to fade away a bit. Cool. So that's the thing. How do you, if you want something to be only affected by one thing, how do you achieve that? Simple enough. We can just go ahead and add a fill layer. Ideally, it's good to keep everything organized, especially in Substance Painter. So for this, I'm going to select my fill layer here and double click on that to rename this to flag, let's just say flagpole, and add a group here. Move this into here, left click and drag, and just name this as flagpole. And here I'm going to add a mask. So add mask and add a black mask. And if I just hide that for now, I can click on this mask and make sure I can find here, polygon fill, and then find my mesh fill. And here I can just select this and it will just have this. So if I go to, here, I can now change all the colors here and it won't affect the other one because it's only being affected with this. Now, if I go to here and I create another folder, so let's change this to something like bright red so we'll see it clearly. I can right click on this, add a black mask. And the black mask, I'm just going to, with my polygon fill selected, I can just select this. And now there we have it. So on here, if I want to do the opacity, I click on opacity here and I can change it as needed. Of course, if we don't want parts of it hidden or all of it hidden, we can right click, add a black mask on it as well. Instead of doing the polygon fill, this is where you can go to something like your brushes or your paints. And you can paint the parts of it that you don't want. Now, by default, it's just going to be this ugly, shape thing here. It's just like the fall off that's kind of blurry. So what you would do here is probably try to find an alpha that has a little bit more of a hardness to it, or you could change the hardness here as needed. This, of course, is where having a digital tablet would be great to have, to be able to use. And you could click on the settings here to have the pressure from it, so it would be pretty good. But for now, this is fine. If anyone has noticed this, you'll see there is a little bit of a red line here. This is actually because we have the base color here. What you have here it affects everything. So you can do, if you click that off, that'll mean there's no base color at all there, and it won't be affecting anything else. So the edges that you kind of like take away or hide, that won't be an issue. But if you do want that, that's there for you. And so essentially what you'll be doing here is trying to create layers upon layers of materials, always trying to keep organized. So something like this is opacity. So maybe you want your opacity down here at the bottom, or it'd probably be at the top actually. It'd probably be the first thing. So when you add a fill layer, you probably want to bring it down a bit. So this is where you maybe find something in your materials here. Let's do something like cloth, fabric, cotton. I don't know, just something simple. You can always download more materials if you need to, or create them, and put this down. So now that's kind of like affecting just that. And if we want to have other designs, you can have a paint layer on top, and maybe in here you can create something that you want. Something interesting. And so that's some of the basics of Substance Painter. For this, we can go back over here. Let's go back to our flagpole and say we want to play with some of the settings here. Let's see about adding some wood. They do have a wood plane that's pretty good. There's also like the wood stylized rough and wood plane. Now, ideally, it'd be good to have, different materials that you can create yourself in the future, but this is still pretty good for what you can work with. Let's just drag and drop that on top of here. And from here, we can kind of change this. We can add another group inside of a group here. So I'm going to go here and just name this to pole mid. And right click and create a black mask for this. And in this one, I'm going to find my polygon fill again, but instead of trying to create this where it just create the mesh fill, you could do something as simple as polygon fill, which fills faces. So maybe you only want certain faces to be affected by something. Or even if you just want to use a brush that, hey, you want to have certain areas of this filled in. So it's all depends on what you want to try to achieve. For this, when I applied the wood plane to it, I don't like the way the wood grain's being applied. So I want to change that. So I'll go back to my polygon fill and just select the mid. And here I will go to my plane and go to rotation and change rotation to maybe something like that. It's always good to look at real world references about how actual materials work and different wood. If you look at different poles or anything like that, if the wood grain's going horizontally, then that might mean that it can break easily. It can snap. So having something that's kind of going up and down, the wood fibers are a little bit stronger that way. So that's something. It's something good to be observant of. So I'll say. And having that kind of like details in it, even if you are doing something cartoonish or stylized, having that knowledge of how things actually work, it will definitely help you. And I can do another guy here. Maybe this is pole mid. No, let's see. Right click on this, or we can just double click. Pole for horizontal, and I can duplicate this and move that up to here. And here I'll add a black mask for this one. Also, somehow I got my symmetry on. I don't need that. So this. And now for this wood plane here, I can change the rotation to kind of match a little bit. This time it might be going this way a bit. And I can, of course, increase the tilings or the size of it. Cool. And so if I also want to try to affect pretty much affect everything, like master, or I guess you say master or global materials or things like that. For instance, the ambient occlusion, I can say AO and change this color to something like a little bit of a darker red, slightly desaturated. And here I can right click, add a black mask to this. And instead of trying to paint things, I can right click on a black mask and add a generator. The generators will be your friend if you use them wisely. You can click on a generator now and find something like ambient occlusion. There's a couple other things you can play around with, but ambient occlusion. And here, this will give me a lot more options and parameters to kind of work with and try to figure out the where my ambient occlusion is going to be at. Sometimes I like to just see like an actual hard line of it and see where it's actually going to be at before I start to blur things out and change it that way. So now that I see, okay, it's going to be all around here in these cuts area, which is what I like. I will maybe play with this a little bit. Could change the global balance just a bit, and then I can start to change this. And of course, you can always play with the settings here to maybe you don't want normal blending. So if you use Photoshop or Affinity or anything like that, you can change it to something else like Multiply. But then you have a black shadow, and sometimes black shadows are not really the best. So it really is all depends about how you want to play with it and go with that. So maybe you want to change the opacity of it so it's just barely there. But sometimes having just barely there and having nothing at all, barely there might be pretty good. So you might not want to have it like at a full 100%. That's all. And then of course, if you want something for the ring itself, let's try to find that. Just add ourselves another do a ring, add ourselves a black mask, and click on this guy. Now this guy, there's nothing really happening, but I'm just going to drag and drop this in here. Yep, so we do have that selected, that's good. And so from here I can do something like maybe add some wear and tear up here at the top. So maybe it's being outside that the top part gets a little bit more weathered than some of the other portions. So for here, maybe add the base color add something, maybe a little bit darker color on top, and then right click, add a generator or a black mask first, and then right click and add a generator. And in this generator, I'll go and try to find something maybe like 3D linear gradient or 3D distance. And you might have to try to find out what's the best. So I could change the contrast so it's a little bit easier to see. So, maybe it's something like this. And I could fade that a bit as well. And so I see that's looking pretty good. I'll go ahead and right click on this, add another thing. So another filter. I'm going to add something like blur slope. And the blur slope was essentially blurring these edges here. I can also go onto this material here, my base material, and go and add something like the height map. This is where I can start to change it so it actually does appear like it's going out or in. And maybe looking at this and thinking, I don't know if I want to work with that. You can go up to your 3D linear gradient and maybe find something like dirt. And that can kind of change that. You could play with the settings here and maybe you want to blur that out. And everything inside of Substance Painter is just building on top of different layers here. And maybe you don't like that. Maybe you want something else. Maybe just like. And if you want to have a little bit more fine control over it, let's just get rid of that. You can right click, add a paint level. And you'll find your brushes here. And maybe instead of the alpha here, you can find something a little bit different. Where the brushes are. Oh, here we go. Let's find alpha. Maybe you want something like that or something. All right. And you can press X to flip things around. X again, and maybe something else. I mean, something like that. You can add a blur slope again if you want to. And you can right click, add another filter if you want to on top of all that. Though the more filters you add, the more chance you might slow down the computer a bit. Maybe you want something like blur directional. And maybe you want this below it. And so you can kind of see about how this all plays together. And this is actually where the fun part is, I think, and how you can kind of start to creatively think about how to create cool and unique materials for this. And I know it's 1:49 now, so I can give you all a 10-minute break and come back at 2 o'clock, and we can head back into this to import back into Maya and actually get the flag to animate a little bit. I will pause. Okay, I'll continue to record and go through here. I am back in Blender actually, and I'm going to install this add-on that will be useful when trying to get substance files inside of Blender. That's called Node Wrangler. So if you click on that and go to add-ons, you might need to enable the online thing, because I think the computers here, they always have to enable online. This is something you should probably check out. So, but this is after I export the textures here and into Maya or something like that. I want to export this again back into Blender, but I'll do that in a bit. But right now, let's say we're happy with this. I mean, I'm not happy with it, but let's just say that we're happy with it. This is our final project. We can export textures. Go here to document channels. Make sure that you have alpha. That'd be good to have. We can change our output templates if we need to look at that. Exports. List of exports, that's good. They'll show you what we have. We're going to have the opacity. That's good. Yeah, essentially we can just export file type. So file type, this is where you would change it to something like a Targa or PNG. PNG doesn't have a lot of compression, so that should be pretty good. Size. This is where you change the size of it. Right now I think we're still working at 4K, so you could do 8K if you wanted to. But for the sake of it, I will go down to something like 10K. That might be a bit more manageable. And here, output directory, we can change this to something where you'd be working with. So, yep. Always good to keep organized. Textures. You can name it textures or materials, but textures is probably the better naming convention. And export. And we can click up here, open output directory, and we should see all of our textures. And right here, we can see our opacity map here. So that's cool. And here, going back to Maya, to actually see this played out, I open up the hypershade again. I don't know why the AI standard surface is not enabled. I don't know. Every time I open up the software here on the school computers, there's always something weird going on. So I don't know. But anyway, if I click up this little icon here, looks like a little ball with a circle inside of it. This is a hypershade menu. This will allow us to be able to work with this. If you don't see this down here at the bottom in the untitled, so if it looks like this, in order to move your materials that you created, like the M_banner, you just can't left click and drag over there. I don't know why it's like that, but you have to middle mouse button click it, and then you drag it over here. For whatever reason, that's just how it is. And so from here, I'll go and plug in my colors here. So I have my base color. I can just drag and drop on top, so long as it does not crash. And apparently that's a big ask today. Okay, so now it's just floating there, so. Okay, so I'm going to save this just in case it crashes, because I feel like it wants to crash. Okay, maybe it's angry I just clicked on something. Okay, that's weird. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, as soon as I try to drag and drop that in here, it does not like that. Okay, we'll do it the hard way. Go to color, click on the RGB. No, that's technically right, but I still want you to see it. So click on color, and over here on create render node, this is where you click on the file. And this is where you can actually find the image name and just manually drag it into it or click on it. So documents 178, week 5, textures, and my base color. And now it's there. So I don't know why it's upset. Somehow it is. Textured. And so we see the textured material here. And of course, if we want the opacity, Now this is where I want the AI standard, the Arnold one, which is the real-time rendering. You have to have that specific material to be able to really work with Arnold. Otherwise, you're working with the default. It's kind of like Eevee inside of Maya. And Arnold's like cycles. But we could still, hopefully, still work with this opacity. If I could find that here, because it does, there we go, opacity. Let's find the opacity map then. Go back to documents and find textures and opacity. And that's, seems like it did not like that. I need to verify that I don't have anything else with opacity here. Okay, I think that's why. So that is opacity here. So I'm gonna make sure nothing else is selecting that. There should not be any other opacity. Yeah, in theory, that yeah, theory, that should be there. But I do see that basically blocking everything out except for that. I wonder if I erase that. Just out of curiosity, I will see what it looks like in Blender, because I'm wondering if Maya is just having a bad day today. At least that little thumbnail thing went away. Yeah. I'll just delete that. Control S to save. And just Control D to duplicate this. And to put this over here. And I can add the loop tools. And maybe add some more cuts in the middle. W. Click on those. I will duplicate this and name it to be flag anim. So I know this one's animated. Hide that one. Vertex. Select these two. Oh, well, first I need to make sure this is actually in cloth. So in cloth, go to FX again, in cloth, and create cloth. And yeah, we can just like that. And go to end cloth here, vertex, end cloth, end constraint actually, and transform constraint for those. Okay, a little bit bouncy, but I guess that's fine. Go to my nucleus, attributes, and the Z direction. I believe it should be a positive Z direction. So let's name it like a 4, XYZ, 1, and 0. And so we have, you know, our basic windblown flag here. Probably a little bit too bouncy, but you know, it's fine. It kind of shows you how you can take materials and put it back into here. I wish Arnold was working for some reason. I don't know why, but that's fine. If we go back to my Blender, let's select these, File, Export. Don't think we need that, but export selection and banner underscore LP, just banner underscore F Maya from Maya, and export. And now go back to Blender. I have file preferences, my node wrangler enabled. I can go and import this here. I think the scale might be crazy, so I'll do 10. Yeah, it's really small. I might have to do something like 100. And yeah, by default, that's that. So let's go to shading. Okay, it has some of the materials actually, so okay, it's kind of encouraging, but we don't want that. Let's just delete everything and create a new material. Just to verify if the UVs are still there. They are, that's good. We'll make sure everything's selected and create a new material. Or I guess I'll just add that, that's fine. Okay, whatever. I'll go to shade, M banner, add the principal BSDF. And you know what, I will just do it. I will add new material. M underscore band 2. Control L, and I believe it's link materials. Okay, no, that's not the right one. That was, I think I need to delete everything else. Oh, I think that need to be the last one. Okay, select this one, this one, this one, and finally the last one that has a material on it that I want to copy. Control L, link materials. There we go. So the last one has to be the one that has the material I want to put on everything else. Okay, so from here, with the principal BSDF with node wrangler enabled, I can press Control Shift and T, and I can find my materials. I can just left click and drag and select it, and it would have created it for me. Now the only thing is the opacity map is kind of screwed up here. I'm not too sure why. So now that I see it actually is messed up inside of Blender, now I'm confident that somewhere in here it got messed up. So let's see what's going on. Okay, that's it. I do see some down there. Okay. Let's create another one, black mask, and just affect that. Also do like this up here a little better. And the mask here, let's just get rid of everything and start over. I want something a little bit harder. Okay, something like that. So file, export textures. 5. Okay. Document channels. Let's change this to just PBR. Okay, so it does not have the alpha with it. I can select this to have RGBA. Okay, we'll just go ahead and find the alpha. Okay, so I guess we'll just work with that again. It's still showing that, but let's see what happens. Displacement alpha. Still does not like that. I wonder if it's the render. This is not cycles. I wonder if it's the opposite that I have. Okay, I guess we can do something like export textures and find Blender. Let's do 2K then. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. Let's go here, delete all of that. Control Shift T, go to Blender Textures. Okay, that's a lot better. So, I guess if you use the document settings, export textures, and you do, document channels plus normal, it might cause some weird issues with the alphas. Don't know why, but that's just how it is. But usually, if you go somewhere like Blender or Arnold, which is what I want to do initially, but Maya is having trouble, you can select that as well. And of course, if you go to Unreal, you can do that, or Unity. Later on, when we try to import things into Unreal, we can show you how the packed is actually helpful. If you do packed, that basically packs some of the information into red, green, and blue channels of your texture, which only means you only have 3 images to choose from. And then you just drag the nodes into Unreal and work with that. So yeah, that's finally there. Let's go back to Z, Material Preview. That's looking pretty decent. I see this. I'll go click on this guy here. And I should probably go ahead and create a cloth modifier. Cloth. Let's make it the steps. Like 12. add ourselves a field. Where is that? Force field. Wind's good. X90. Cool. So from here we can strength 50. It's okay. This cloth will go ahead and go to my tab 1, select this, go down to our data tabs, vertex groups, want to click add. Let's name this to be banner pinpoint, assign that, make sure we assigned it, go back to our cloth, and we should find that here. Shape, pin group, banner pinpoint. Cool. And so we have that going for us. We can add something like a basic collider for this. Collision. Collision, just in case it ever tries to hit that. Do something like GPU. Probably not. Shift A, add something like a light. And we could do something like a video. Frame range, output. I don't want that. Week 5. Oh, go to 178, week 5. Well, technically like a render, but that's fine. And of course, this will take a long time to finish. Minutes or hours? Yeah, I'm not gonna sit there and wait for that. Let's do like 28. And end at 60. Will it be enough to do anything? Yeah. We shall see. But yeah, that essentially shows you how to kind of like at least work with some basic materials. Obviously, there's a whole lot more you can do with Substance Painter and to make it feel a lot more realistic. Especially adding dirt, adding other things to it. If you want to do super realistic, you can even do like hand painted textures inside of Substance Painter if you wanted to. Though some people like to use 3D Coat, you can still use Blender for hand painted textures if you wanted to. So Substance Painter isn't the only thing you have to work with. It's really whatever the best way to be able to get the materials that you want to create. So yeah, there's multiple ways to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. The Substance Painter is good to use and learn how to work with it, especially while you're here at the school, to be able to have access to it. So that's something to make note of. So yeah, as that should hopefully help you with the storytelling flag if you want to. You can kind of do the same thing with the lantern if you wanted to work with that as well. You would just have to change the pivot point to a certain area and just rotate it left and right on the axes. Aside from that, again, quiz 2 is due tonight at midnight. Pretty simple to do. And also quiz 3 is available now. So that's something to do. I don't know why it's say April 20. Oh, that's the next one. So yeah, quiz 3 is available now, so you can do that to get that done. Again, next week it's lab time. So anything you need really in-depth help with, I'll be sure to focus a lot of time on that for next week, especially for the second assignment. And if you haven't done so already, try to submit assignment 1 tonight if possible, and definitely your chosen theme. So just let me know in the comment section of that area. So final project, you go to your final submission, but let me know what idea you're working on. And so just create the submission and tell me what you're working on, and that'll be helpful. So even if you don't have a complete game plan yet, just tell me what you're working on, and maybe I can help you and give you some ideas about how to complete that. So again, the final project can be done in Maya or Blender. And the first assignment should be done in Maya, so you kind of get familiar with it. But after that, any other assignments you could accomplish them in either Blender or Maya. So that's the goal. So yeah, with that should be it for today. The rest of the time can be used for lab time. So if you need, one-on-one help, this would be a good time to do so. Otherwise, if you don't like working here and you want to go to a library or you need to go somewhere else, you're free to do that as well. But I am here till 3 o'clock, or if everyone leaves in 1 minute after I say I'm done, that's also okay. But again, I will upload this to YouTube, so you'll be able to have that and be able to see it in the in-class videos. So if you still need to be able to work on your, if you really need to work on, if you need to take these classes as more lab times for yourself, that's fine. And, watch the videos throughout the week or something like that. So yeah, and I think Blender just finished this. I now have to figure out where it actually recorded. Blender, there we go. That's pretty quick. Yeah, if you're only recording 60 frames, that's 1 second, it's going to go away. But yeah. And of course, if you don't want to render traditionally here, you could just do the OBS and record, kind of like how I'm doing over here. That might be easier on a computer than just trying to render something out. You can just click play and I can just see how it's done and at least see it's working. So both Maya or Blender. So you don't have to do like the Maya's Play Blast, which is that right click Play Blast. But you could if you want to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will upload all these files to the Blackboard course materials, the videos. In-class videos, I'll have that along here, even with the Substance Painter file. So if you want to take a look at that and probably practice along, that'd be good to do. And hopefully between now and next week, you can actually download Substance Painter on your own devices if you're able to access it. If you're not able to, well, between now and next week is a good time to let me know. We can probably see what we can work with. So yeah, I will save as. And to save your Substance file, let's just say, make a new folder just to be organized. Banner test. And that's pretty much it. And of course, you can go here to Blender, external, automatically pack resources. And now see packed 14 files. So there was textures on here. That's always good to have and do. And now I can just save as. No, 177, 178. And work. Banner, Blender. Cool. And now I should be able to have all that in there. Yep, that should be good. And now I think if I do try to zip this, it might be large. Okay, not too bad. Only 23 megabytes, so. No, 133, okay. Still not too horrible. Not as bad as it could be. So yeah, between now, I guess until 3 o'clock, you can continue to work on your stuff. And I'll upload the video and yeah, we'll be good.